And a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us here for another live episode of Conversations with Michael. Let's take that deep breath together as we allow all the energies that are here today, that are here in support of an emerging new state of consciousness, allowing them to begin to blend and merge with your own human experience. And there is a tremendous amount of support, both of course from Michael, but from a variety of other soul beings who are just astonished that we are willing to stay on this planet, to be in receivership of the magnificence of who we are as soul beings, and to tolerate all that is a little uncomfortable, to integrate that presence into the presence of our human self. And we are, of course, streaming live from our home studio on a very bright and sunny day here in Oregon. And wherever you call home, we hope all is well in your life. The majority of you that are watching today's live stream are doing so on our website. Thank you for being there. But we also welcome those that choose to watch on YouTube or on our Vimeo channel. So we come together each month to celebrate the birthing of a new era here on this planet, a new beginning. And like all new things, well, we've noticed it takes a while to be noticed, for it to become tangible. So I want to thank all of you, no matter what part you have chosen to play in this new story, for having the courage to be on this planet at this time. And it continues to be such an honor for my wife Coca and myself to help guide you back to your natural state. One that isn't conflicted, that isn't confused, that isn't even stressed out. That part of us has always been inside of us. But for many, it's like a stranger that lingers in the background, because its state of grace won't allow it to force itself to be at the front of our life. That part of us has been called by many names, but we call it our divine self. And what we discovered, for it to step forward, it must be allowed to come forward. Our human part must be willing to receive its presence, for it to be present. But don't misunderstand this. It doesn't mean our divine nature is passive. It's actually very passionate about living inside of its own creation. It's just not willing to negotiate its own identity, its own presence. And again, speaking for myself as Robert, I know it's not an easy thing to do. It asks of all of us to question our own reality in ways that can be very unsettling for both the human mind and, of course, the physical human body. And yet this thing called freedom, aligned with our own soul, well, has a way of inspiring us, does it not? Encouraging us to open our hearts, to let go of trying to control this very presence, and begin to experience a new way of being human. Many who have walked this same path have been called many things during their lifetime, some of which aren't very complimentary. And within the spiritual circles, it's been called being enlightened. And as that relates to embracing our soul nature while still living on this planet as a human being, that term enlightenment has to also honor and respect the very presence of our human nature if it's going to coexist with our divine self. And again, speaking for myself, that represents a choice that is not for the faint of heart. Because with our human part present, you begin to realize that what your human self is trying to become, it already exists. And that's a little hard to accept, given all the time and energy we put into trying to become enlightened, or at least more aware, or simply to create an improved version of who we think we are. After all those hours spent meditating while practicing conscious breathing, we finally come to realize all we really need to do is just receive what already exists inside of us. So let's take a breath there. Because I know so many of you can feel a little frustrated, as I have too, knowing that it's just about receiving, allowing what already exists to now come forward. But what already exists is also unwilling to negotiate its magnificence just to make our human part feel a little more comfortable. So where's the fun in that? Where's the drama if all we need to do is just allow what already exists? We've been asked countless times over all these years, dear Robert, dear Michael, dear Kethra, how do you embody the presence of the soul? And if we had seen a lot of, we've seen a lot of head scratching when we say, just allow what's inside of you to come forward. So most of our work with those that resonate with our approach really isn't about becoming enlightened. It's more about the art of being in receivership. And of the thousands of people we've had the honor of serving over the last 40 years, our greatest joy is acting as a witness to the presence of your soul stepping forward. Simply because your human self has allowed it to now exist, not in the background, not in the closet, but at the front of your life. And for some of you, now that your soul has emerged from deep inside of you and is closer to your heart than ever before, you're beginning to feel why so many before you chose to ascend from this planet. Yes, for those that are new to ancient wings in the teachings of Michael, they ascended into a more elevated state of consciousness, into another reality, because they didn't feel or think it was possible for a conditioned human self to coexist with something that was unconditional. And of course, we're speaking again of that divine nature inside of you, that part of us that doesn't play games, that part that really has no interest in pretending it's not the original self too. And I know when we speak about this part of you in this way, your human identity gets a little ticked off. It insists that life is just happening to it every single day. It insists that it has no control or influence over the events that happen on this planet or in your life. And it would be right. It would be right if you're not willing to be on this planet, but not of it. The power games that help to support a closed system of reality, well, what did we discover, all of us? They are very, very seductive. Doesn't matter what part you play in them, both as the oppressor or the victim. They can overwhelm your human senses to the point of needing to medicate yourself just to survive here. One of the ways to anchor your soul in your body, as we have been teaching of late, is just to give it a voice. Allow it to speak. When we allow it to speak or to express itself, you're also allowing it to now be at the front of your life. It shifts how your human part likes to speak about the soul to allowing it to now speak for itself. Imagine that. Imagine that this conditioned human part would be willing to step aside to allow your soul now to communicate, to express its perspective of reality, of itself. And for those of you that have embraced this opportunity, what have you noticed that might be a little confusing? That has you, well, questioning if what you're hearing is real. Your soul doesn't always sound like some of those channeled angelic messages you've heard over the years. It's not always about love and light. It doesn't always sound like an angelic choir, but it's real, is it not? Your soul's voice is real. But how do you know if it's you that you're speaking for? Trust how it feels in your heart. You, the real you, just feels really good. That's the test. If what you're speaking to you, not to anybody else, but just to you, if it feels really good, it must be you. So I enjoy sharing my own unique relationship with my own soul nature. But if it was completely up to Robert, my human self, well, ancient wings and the teachings of Michael wouldn't exist. I'd still be hiding out in the forest building really good furniture. If my human part hadn't allowed what already exists inside of me to be present, there would be nothing here for me to share. So for those of you that are new to our work, for many years I served as a spiritual messenger for Archangel Michael and for Yeshua, providing a lot of channeled messages. And I thoroughly enjoyed that experience. Then about 10 years ago, Michael, who is my oversoul or eternal self, asked me if I was ready to go beyond channeling as a multidimensional being, which he insisted is our natural state. So of course, what did I say? Well, without knowing what I was getting into, I just said, sure, let's go for it. So now when I share the voice of my human part, or my soul, which is called Kethra, or my oversoul, known as Michael, sometimes it sounds like a blended type of experience between those parts of me. It certainly feels that way to me. And then sometimes one of them wants to step forward So from my perspective, it's been it's been so long since we've had allowed ourselves to experience our true nature. We almost forgot how good it feels to be this divine part too, no matter what part that part is playing. And we also know that at the bottom of your heart, all of you yearn for this reconnect with your own soul. And we deeply honor that. But to embody such a presence inside of these physical bodies, it's not an easy thing to do. I keep repeating that based on my own experience and from the feedback we've received from others that we have the honor of working with. It would actually be far easier just to ascend, leave this planet into a different reality, as many before us did. We also want to acknowledge a lot of you that follow our teaching, you also played a similar role that I am playing with all of you in this lifetime. Maybe in some of those lifetimes, it was me that was listening to you. This is one of the reasons we like to address all of you as being our fellow creators. So you came into this human experience, well, for most of you, one last time. In service to what? Yes, the byproduct of what you chose to do does serve humanity, but that's really not why you came here. You came in service to your freedom, because it has to start somewhere before it can even become a collective reality. But of course, there also exists an underlying issue that a lot of you have been carrying with you for a long, long time. That whole issue about speaking your truth, that comes full circle here, as we talked about speaking for your soul. You did it before, in other lifetimes. But the outcome, well, let's just say it wasn't very uplifting. We can feel it. You can feel that resistance, that pause, that hesitation inside of you. There is this deep-seated fear in how other people might react to your truth. So, shining your light is but one way to express how you feel being you. It's beautiful. But the passion inside your soul, what are you feeling here? Indeed. Your soul doesn't like to limit its own expression. So your human self is pushing back against your soul in a way to what? Well, to protect itself. In fact, has that not been the theme in your current life? But that same pushing or that type of resisting you're feeling, it's not confined to your past lifetimes. It's also going on inside your physical body. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it can be really confusing. All of you in this lifetime have become more conscious of what your body needs to help it stay healthy. You've become aware of how your immune system is working really hard over time to help protect the body from a variety of viruses and disease, which to your body, these all exist outside of you. Over the years, a lot of really good information has come out to help strengthen that immune system. And a lot of you subscribe to better diets, natural organic foods, more exercise, deeper breathing, less stress. Because let's be honest, being a human being can feel really stressful. So of course, what did most of you that are watching today's show do? You wanted your cake and you wanted to eat it too. You wanted to experience the light of your soul, but you wanted to experience that inside of these carbon-based bodies, thinking that would elevate being human. And it does in its own way. But it doesn't fit very well inside this closed system of reality you inherited. You're feeling that now, both in your body and you're feeling it emotionally. Your heart can literally feel trapped inside of any form of a closed system of reality, denying itself free expression, which greatly limits your perception of any given reality. Your physical body, of course. It has adapted itself to the closed system you birthed yourself into. It acts as a chameleon for the very reality that restricts your own freedom, one that has divided or separated the light from the dark, what is known from the unknown, the male from the female, the human from the angel, creating a perception of what is healthy and what is not. So the physical body has been working overtime to help maintain its own sense of health and well-being. The body's immune system is pushing against what appears to be a threat to its own health. And much to your surprise, how is this physical body, these carbon-based cells, responding to your light? Yeah, we know. Well, has it embraced it as its new companion? Now working hand in hand for the betterment of this new opportunity? Or have you found that your body is much like those unintegrated versions of your own soul that only know what they know? And if it's unknown to any part of you, it can be perceived as being a threat. A threat to what, though? Well, its own perception. Its own perception. So when we talk about the original gift, to explore the unknown with passion and joy, how does that fit inside of these closed systems of reality? In particular, this human-based reality. Well, it would appear to most it doesn't. And because it doesn't, all of us have been seduced by this closed system to just ignore the original gift as being what? Unrealistic. Unrealistic. So the choice to embody our soul's presence It goes against what is known to us on so many different levels. But what it honors, more than anything, is this heartfelt desire that all of you are feeling right now as we speak, to be free at last. To be free. All of us are literally choosing to walk away from what has been known for eons, for the opportunity to experience how it feels to exist inside of an open-ended, free-flowing reality. And what a few have discovered in this lifetime is very, very revealing. That reality brings up some distant memories. This free-flowing reality feels like what? My friends, it feels like home. Indeed it does. Thank you, Kethra. It is I, Michael, once again, stepping forward in celebration of boldly going where very few have been willing to go, while embracing a soul-filled passion to explore one's true divine self outside of what is known, outside of the worries and the concerns, outside of all the power games and all the pity parties, all the ways that you have denied this very divine nature to be at the front of your life. It is why so many of you that are watching today's episode are here on this very planet, because you have come to the realization that without this gift, without the presence of your divine self, you don't exist as you know yourself to be, now living outside the kingdom. And that realization was like a cold slap on the face. You're now willing to do just about anything to ensure that you experience yourself as being the original self too, because you know it is your birthright. It's such an incredibly bold choice. But as a human being, that choice isn't being celebrated by parts of your soul that feel disconnected from such a presence. It's not, for the most part, being celebrated by your human mind. And the human body's entire defense mechanism feels threatened by such an open-ended system of reality. Imagine that. The body is trying to protect the only known system that supports itself. From what? Does it perceive the light of your soul to be outside of it? Well, is that not the very story you brought with you to this planet? We're not suggesting there's any type of conspiracy developing inside the cells of your body. This very resistance that exists inside those cells also exists inside of you. It's why Earth was created, to help any being reclaim what was your birthright to experience. And what is that? Your own free-flowing energies, your natural state. And that, my friends, is why you feel at times like you're living in someone else's dream. Why some have declared that this closed system of reality you birthed yourself into is but an illusion. Because relative to your natural state, indeed it is. But simply declaring it to be that doesn't necessarily set you free from it. So where do we go from here? Well, your devotion to a story that helped to create this illusion is incredibly strong. It includes a lot of other beings, human or otherwise. But it can be changed. How, you might ask? By creating your own story. But what have you discovered by making that choice? Indeed, it's not as easy as it sounds, is it? If it's just an illusion, why does it feel so real? So in our service to all of you, our approach is to present a more elevated experience and to slowly integrate that into this physical reality. We often talk about quantum leaps, and in relationship to embracing and embodying a more elevated state of consciousness, many of you have asked for a timeline. And so we have shared that 10 to 12 years, from our perspective, would represent an incredible quantum experience. And in relationship to over, for some of you, 1,000 lifetimes as a human being, from our perspective, again, that sounds incredible. But of course, there is only so much discomfort any being can handle or tolerate before it's time to say, enough is enough. And as that relates to these beautiful carbon-based physical bodies, my friends, you're going to need to be even more patient. Because just like your old story, which to your emotions feel like a part of you is dying when you started to introduce a new story, your body is also responding to your soul's light in a similar way. Your body doesn't know what it's becoming. Oh, it's willing to embrace all the physical augmentations, improvements that enhance the health and well-being of its own body, of its own self. But your light, this represents an entirely new system. It represents a light body, one that will not allow itself to be contained inside a reality that isn't open-ended. Are you hearing us, my friends? And then, of course, there is the growing reliance on a new digital system. So the future of humanity, from our perspective, is like watching someone crossing the Grand Canyon on a tightrope without a parachute. And from our perspective, it's incredible to witness. And it's entirely up to the human race to decide what future speaks to your heart. But of course, as all of you know, that human heart was displaced by your mind a long time ago. And in part, that is why all of you are here. To to allow it to express itself alongside of all these hidden agendas like a breath of fresh air, inviting your human family, the family of humanity, to experience yet another potential, one that is filled with joy and passion, one that is filled with a deep love for self, one that your mind serves. It represents a bridge that exists in every human being between that part of you and your soul. And while using the language of the heart, your human self can literally feel how your soul now is in constant communication with you through your senses, using your intuition as an energetic presence. But as always, each of you have the freedom to choose whatever reality speaks to you. But what hasn't always been the case is now finally available to you. You now realize and are beginning to experience that no matter what you choose for yourself, with the presence of your soul present, you will never be alone again, ever. At its core is also the presence of God, the original self. So Earth provides a very tangible opportunity to experience such a presence and its support, unlike anything you've experienced before as a human being. And even though there might be days when you feel a little lost and confused, there'll be days when your body is in that full-blown resistant mode because it's fighting for its own survival in the face of your emerging light. Now, more than ever before, the separation that has existed for eons on this planet between the light and dark, earth and the heavens, the illusion of such a division has been revealed. And in its place is the reality of the Christ light, now anchoring itself to this planet in such a way to ensure those that resonate with such a presence can now feel it. So the changes to every part of this human experience, they have accelerated. It can feel like they're happening at the speed of light. It does not represent, my friends, an end time. It represents a new beginning. And to ensure that every human being has the opportunity to experience what you are feeling, a free-flowing, open-ended reality for themselves, each of you chose to incarnate on this planet one last time, not to just endure all these hardships, and we know there are many. There must be more than that. There must be more than that, or you would just leave. There also must be the joy. But for that to be real, there must be the willingness to be in receivership of such a presence that dances with joy as a way of being. So despite all the physical discomforts, the cells in your body have no power over you. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But you, my friends, are the creators here. These carbon-based cells, they serve you. They serve you. And the you that is your soul has reclaimed the gift of creation to be divine and human too. We know our words and our energy, well, it can be a little intense at times. But there is always a warm glow radiating from our passion for life itself. You are deeply loved. Deeply loved. And you are never alone. But don't just accept that at face value. It is your birthright to experience what we too experience. A love for self that will elevate your perception of this physical reality beyond your wildest dreams. It's such an honor for us to be of service. Take care of yourself. And thank you, thank all of you for sharing your presence here today.